Hello and welcome to this week's focus on geothermal energy for the weekend. My name is Alexander Richter. I'm the founder of Think Geoenergy, and the webinar is a series of Think Geoenergy and Enerchange. We're very pleased today to have with us Taras Popadynets from Geothermal Ukraine. He's the heading of this initiative and organization, telling us a little bit about geothermal energy in Ukraine, with the challenges towards the energy markets in Ukraine. Of course, I guess also in the context of the current situation and damages to the energy infrastructure in Ukraine. You will have the possibility to ask questions after the presentation. We will block them and provide them to Taras. And with that, I hand over to Taras.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being able to present our activities and our progress as of the geothermal energy development in Ukraine. Very much appreciated for the invitation, and let's proceed with that. So today we'll be speaking about the geothermal energy in Ukraine, the challenges and opportunities towards the global energy market. And I am the head of the NGO Geothermal Ukraine. Please proceed with the next slide. So basically on our agenda today, we'll be speaking about the geothermal energy and the global market, the current energy landscape in Ukraine, the geothermal resources and prospects in Ukrainian geothermal case studies, and last but not least, the challenges and opportunities for Ukraine in this regard. Please, next slide. In a brief about myself, I'm purely oil and gas backgrounded person with more than 15 years of experience in oil and gas, both in Ukraine and internationally. Used to work for conventional and unconventional E&P projects, particularly involved in the upstream sector, in the well planning and drilling and well engineering part. I'm graduated within the master's degree in petroleum engineering, and now I'm acting the PhD candidate for the petroleum engineering and technologies. Currently, my scope of work as a PhD candidate is a study for repurposing oil and gas wells into geothermal. I'm also involved as a SPE officer for developing the SPE chapter in Ukraine, and apparently I'm involved in the European initiative for Geohackathon, organizing among the more than 10 sections, as well as the initiative about the regular webinars as of the geothermal potential from 10 section related to geothermal prospects. And as of the NGO Geothermal Ukraine related, we are involved in the feasibility study for the geothermal direct use projects in the western part of Ukraine, in conjunction with our partner from Iceland, Geothermal and Israel. Please, next slide. So let's start with our first chapter, the introduction of geothermal energy and global market. Please, next slide. So let's speak about some basics. So as you might know, basically the geothermal projects might be divided into the main three levels. So this is the shallow geothermal, mostly applicable for the heating and cooling, the deep geothermal, heating and cooling, and ultra deep geothermal potential for the power generation. So basically, all of that approach is our scope of work, and we are looking forward for best condition and technology application related to the geological condition, as well as the demand potential in Ukraine. As of the the most prospective part from geothermal application in this regard is the energy security, which might be applied through the clean geothermal energy source 24/7. So this is one. The economical benefit might be available as of the development of that energy industry. So low emission, the small footprint as a renewable and sustainable energy source among the other sources which is already under development, like solar, wind, and biogas, etc. Please let's move ahead. Next one. Yeah. So what about the renewable power capacity highlights and where is the geothermal in the global scale? So if you might see on this slide, the less than 1% of the power is generated from geothermal at the moment. Totally, it's about 16 gigawatt. And these numbers are growing up. So there are like a majority of the power generated from the hydro, solar, and wind at the moment, and the European as well as the global scope is to increase the geothermal parts of that whole production. And Ukraine might play a key role in this approach as well in terms of developing the geothermal potential, since we are on the initial stage at the moment and we have a huge potential in terms of current study done. So let's speak about that in the next slides. Please. Yeah. And regarding the dividing into the power generation and the heating and cooling potential and the progress. So based on the IGA, we are aware about the 31 countries which is developing the power generation projects within the almost 200 geothermal fields and using the 671 power units. Instead, the heating and cooling is developed in the 88 countries, so-called geothermal direct use, and with a total capacity about 173 gigawatts. So basically, this is the summary about the countries also developed. So the US, Indonesia, Philippines, Turkey are leading this list. And although we know that the heating and cooling is prevailed, so within the new technologies in the market and new startups, the new prospects arising, and the countries which was previously worked and looked on the heating and cooling only now are starting review the capacity of power generation as well. Please move ahead. Next slide. Yeah. So let's speak about the current energy landscape in Ukraine. Next slide. So currently, as you might see, predominantly the power generation in Ukraine contains from the sources from nuclear, hydro, and fossil fuels. The Ukrainian power sector is the map is presented on the right slide, where both the fossil fuels, the nuclear stations, as well as the renewables are marked on the map. So, and basically on the related to the military aggression, you might see how much windmills, wind farms, as well as the other conventional power generation are damaged and destroyed or occupied, including the nuclear station. This is the high challenge and issue with the whole power generation and heating as well. Basically, what it costs, blackouts for the electricity through all the country, Depends on the load on the system, not only on the winter times but also on the summer as now. So basically, what we are talking about the numbers. The total installed capacity of the power plants is 56 and 24 gigawatts based on the 2021. Now the numbers is changed, reduced, I would say, because of the damage. So there is no updates as today because of the security reason, but mainly Ukraine is rely on the nuclear and natural gas, but also on the oil and coal. So this is the challenge which showed us clearly that the renewable energy sector prevails as a number one for decentralized energy grids and energy supply in order to to build the lots of small power generation capacity versus the big one which was already destroyed and damaged. This next slide. What is the geothermal role in renewable energy in Ukraine? So basically, as per the 2021, 89.9% of renewables was developed, which contains the biomass, the hydro, the wind, and solar projects. Instead, the geothermal is not much developed yet, so there is no installed power generation capacity, and the only 1.5 megawatt of the heat capacity is working. There was another capacity installed in the Crimea Island, but at the moment it's occupied and we don't have any updates on that. So as of the electricity production, as per the 2023, there is the number of 8.8 gigawatts installed capacity. And this number is increasing. So since we used to started several programs like Green Tariff, which highly supported this renewable energy sector development. Basically now, based on the current challenges and issues, there is a number of another initiatives and supporting programs from the government, which will be presented later on. Please, next slide. What is the challenges or limitation at the moment for the energy sector? So there is a number about more than 40% of damage in destroyed installed power capacity, and the total direct damage for the Ukrainian energy system is more than 10 billion US dollars. So based on the temporary losses of the installed capacity power system from since the military action started up to the May 2023, there is minus 27 gigawatts, and yeah, so the 2.5 gigawatts is under occupation, and the about 13% of solar and 70% of wind energy capacity has been destroyed or damaged as of the update from the last year. So as you might see, there is lots of damages and destroyed system, including the biggest one, the hydro installation on Kakhovka. This is a real issue and challenge for on the state level. So in this regard, all the initiatives and the international and the other internal and external programs are under high discussion and development in order to propose something new instead and to build the better and to build the decentralized system for being able reduce these security risks and at the same time to support the required demand of energy in Ukraine. Please, next slide. So let's speak about the geothermal resources and prospects in Ukraine. Please, next slide. Yeah, as of the geothermal energy sources, we might speak about three main subcategories. Is a shallow one for so-called heat pump installations potential, which under the depth of 50 meters. The second is the hydrothermal, which is mostly available up to the 3,000 meter depth within the average temperature about 70 degrees Celsius, which might be mostly applicable for the heating purposes. And there are also higher values, more than 1,000 even, which is applicable even for the electricity generation potential. And the third is the petrothermal resources, which usually provides the potential of the for the heating and as well as the power generation. The resources are available below 3,000 meters and it's presented by hot dry rocks. So basically it might be harvested by the borehole heat exchanger and enhanced geothermal system application. So based on the Ministry of Energy, the potential geothermal resources of the thermal waters was estimated about 27 million meter cubes per day, and within the energy potential about 84 million gigacalorie per year. It's about 11 gigawatts equivalent. Please, next slide. Let's speak about a little bit about geology and the geological perspective of the geothermal resources. So basically, the geothermal prospects are mostly related to the oil and gas bearings, and we might speak about such potential regions like Transcarpathian and Carpathian Depression on the west, the Dnipro-Donetsk Depression on the eastern part, as well as Skifen Plate and Black Sea Depression on the south. Based on that availability, there are various geothermal gradients, let's say from 2.3 up to the 8.4 degrees Celsius per 100 meter, which provides various range of the heat flow from 50 up to the 130 and even higher. And the average depth of the geothermal reservoir varies from 1,500 up to the more than 4,000 meter depth. And the average bottom hole temperature varies from 40 degrees up to more than 200 degrees Celsius and even higher if we drill deeper. Let's move with the next slide, please. So as it was already mentioned, the geothermal resources relies on the gas-bearing zones, and which respectively represents within 132 hydrocarbon fields on the west and 283 hydrocarbon fields on the east and 43 hydrocarbon fields on the south, sorry. So basically, we are aware about the number of wells which is already drilled. The number is pretty much high. It's more than 10,000 wells. The only one national oil company owns the number of wells, more than 4,000 items. So it means that there are huge potential for both the repurposing of such assets, such non-productive oil and gas wells, as well as use the subsurface data for study for the new geothermal well drilling and geothermal resources harvesting. Please, next slide. So let's speak about the heat flow and temperature distribution among the country. So basically, we might highlight that the western part, particularly the Transcarpathia region, which is also the part of Pannonian Basin, are the hottest one. Within the heat flow, more than 120 milliwatts per square meter, and the temperature distribution is represented on the right side based on the depths of 500 meters and 3,000 meters. So basically, as it was already mentioned, the Transcarpathian, we are aware about the wells on the depths of 4,000 meters, contain the bottom hole temperature more than 200 degrees Celsius. Please, next slide. So as we speak about the estimated potential for geothermal capacity, the estimation as of the 2015 was made by the National Academy of Science of Ukraine, and the total geothermal potential of power generation at that moment was estimated within the value of 10.8 gigawatt electricity. So this is the pretty much high value, and within the current technology development, this number might be much higher. And we also might highlight that these regions provide the numbers of based on each region provide some estimation of the resources, the potential resources versus the region application. Next slide, please. Once we speak about the geothermal energy potential assessment, we might highlight some 15 promising sites with geothermal energy projects. So basically, the study was done by the National Academy of Science of Ukraine, and it was estimated that within these 15 geothermal energy facilities, the total capacity of those is about 86 megawatts, both power and heat generation. And it was modeled the 10 heat station, 2 power station, and 2 cogeneration units. And the regions was estimated like Transcarpathia, Lviv, Chernihiv, Poltava, Kharkiv, and Kherson regions. So this is the estimation made per each of the station and each of the region on the slide. And this is a very valuable point to understand in terms of from the investor perspective where the project might be started and what is the value of each might be applicable. Next slide. At the moment, we might highlight that the currently acting geothermal projects in Ukraine are related to the balneological scope. This is mostly the spa resorts, very famous on the Transcarpathia region. And we have also 3 operating heat stations with the overall capacity of 1.5 megawatt. So yeah, so as we might say as a summary that the capacity is pretty much low, but the potential is very high. So basically, we're expecting the next steps for the energy development in Ukraine, that the geothermal potential will be increasingly developed, and the heating and even power generation will be developed respectively. Next slide, please. So let's speak about the Ukrainian geothermal case study done at the moment. Next slide. let's speak about our organization first. So Geothermal Ukraine is a non-profit R&D organization founded in April 2022 with the mission of from development of R&D activities for geothermal energy potential, and the key areas of activity is R&D project for geothermal energy application and the application of fit for purpose and efficient technologies for exploration and production of energy sources, the feasibility for the repurposing existing oil and gas infrastructure for geothermal energy harnessing, the educational and training activities and promotion of geothermal energy projects in Ukraine, and cooperation establishment for within the state and local authorities, scientific organizations, as well as other commercial, intergovernmental, and international organizations. Next slide, please. Let's speak a little bit about the geothermal project phases and where is our key activities is focusing on. So basically, once we speak about the types of the data required for the exploration and production of the geothermal resources, it's very similar to the oil and gas projects. So basically, the skills and the workflows in oil and gas is very much similar to the geothermal projects. Yeah, so starting from the geological data assessment, the borehole assessment, once we have some drilling history in place, geophysical data assessment, the well logging data assessment, the geotechnical data assessment, the well testing data analysis, the building some models, and of course the administration of the data for the further operational activities. As of our organization, we are focusing at the moment for the pre-feasibility study for the existing potential, existing data sets, and existing drilling history and subsurface data analysis, reservoir assessment, and proposing some business cases for the further commercial project development. Next slide, please. As of the target region, we are focusing on the western part of Ukraine, both on the geological reason as well as the safety at the moment. So we also have to highlight that there was some study done and the relevant report was presented in 2016, so-called geothermal policy options and instruments for Ukraine, done by Islamic government. So based on that report, the assets was assessed both from the oil and gas fields as well as the geothermal fields, and the overall estimation was done in terms of versus the current experience from Islamic and the international best practices. So basically, our project is to make the next step to make some further assessment, deep analysis, and select the best leads and prospects for the further feasibility estimation. Yeah? So what we did, we built some database within the acting historically drilled geothermal as well as the oil and gas wells on the western part, containing the Lviv, Ivano-Frankivsk, and the Transcarpathia regions. And now we are in the way of making this few feasibility studies. So one is regarding the district heating project, the second is the power generation potential, and the third is the biological related projects for the spa. So and also some combination of two. And so above that, the industrial application will be also assessed. So it was selected several leads, several sites within the highest potential, and the slide on the slide you might check the sites which was selected. So please move on to the next slide. So let's speak about our higher prospect about Transcarpathian region. So we are looking for the acid repurposing feasibility study there. On the map, you might see that the temperature versus the depths of 1,000 meters, 2,000 and 3,000 respectively, and the temperature varies from 90 degrees maximum on the 1,000, 140 on the 2,000, and up to 230 on the 3,000 meters on the most hottest areas, which might be very much valuable for estimation both heating as well as the power generation. Next slide, please. So within our partner Innovate AI, we selected one prospect, and we are building the digital twin model. This is the digital solution for analyzing the both subsurface and on-surface data for the power generation prospect. And also we are developing this paper, which will be recently presented in the SPE conference in Turin in a month. So what it was done, we were analyzing the history of drilling this hottest and the deepest well on the Transcarpathia. This is the hot dry rock, and we made this petrophysical analysis and made this sensitivity analysis for closed loop system for the power generation potential estimation. Next slide, please. Let's speak a little bit about the geothermal technology application scenario, which is applicable for Ukrainian case particularly. So basically, we might highlight the main three options, like the conventional approach within the hydrothermal resources, within the standard doublet applications, like one production, one injection well scheme. The second is so-called next generation system, like the enhanced geothermal system, and as well as a closed loop geothermal system. So three of those are applicable, depends on the geological condition in Ukraine, and also once we consider the oil and gas well repurposing as well. Next slide, please. Once we speak about the geothermal harnessing, we might compare the repurposing of oil and gas wells and applying the open loop system versus closed loop. So the study was done on the recent finished project for such an estimation, and basically what was estimated that each of the system contains some pros and cons. So once we speak about the open loop, we have to highlight that within the pros, it's the proven technology. This is this technology requires the high pressure, high temperature as the so-called nice to have option. About the cons, it might contain some brine issues and the contact with the reservoir, as well as the high ESP pumping cost. Once we speak about the closed loops, so no brine issue, so we don't use the brine at all. We use the closed loop and use our temperature agent only. So we don't use any work. We use the working fluid instead, and the low pumping cost as of the ESP. Within the cons, of course, is emerging technology yet, so the less efficient as a result, and the compromised hidden flow. Next slide, please. So let's speak about our final chapter about the challenges and opportunities for Ukraine in terms of geothermal projects. Next slide. So it was to say that within the latest time, the strategy and policy was analyzed, and the Ministry of Energy was developed the energy strategy for Ukraine until 2050. The document also contains the geothermal energy chapter, where since 2025 up to 2030, the overall geothermal energy project has to be highly developed yet already within the heating of 20 megawatt and power generation of 100 gigawatt hours has to be developed. This is the very promising numbers, and under the program of REPowerEU and the Green Deal, where Ukraine already being the associated member of EU already joined and supporting. We believe that this synergy of European experience and best practices and Ukrainian initiatives will support this plan, and the result of those will be applied during the numbers on the slide. Although the climate neutrality for the energy sector up to 2050 also say that Ukraine committed to become the CO2 neutral, meaning that we are following all the EU requirements as of the decarbonization targets. And geothermal is a part of the project, and the perspective for geothermal energy is very much valuable and highly demanded in terms of energy mix for the next generation projects. Please, next slide. So what is the challenges for the energy sector as a overall? So we might highlight several of them, like the regulatory and the policy tools, infrastructure and grid integration, tariff policy, and the lack of investment and the access to financing. And the highest one, of course, is the Russian aggression. Let's speak in details about that. Next slide, please. So speaking about overcoming the challenge of infrastructure and grid integration and technology expertise, we have to highlight that Ukraine is already integrated into the ENTSO system, the European system. Finally, it was done while the military aggression already started. It was a high challenge, but Ukraine successfully managed that. So, and recently the roadmap for the development of smart grids was already approved. And the smart grid and smart city approach become the #1 target for energy system in Ukraine. And distributed generation concept was already declared as a target from Ukrenergo as well. As I already highlighted, instead of 1 gigawatt thermal coal station shall be 100 small stations of 10 megawatt each. This is the national level approach program, and within the potential of geothermal energy, this is the real opportunity to estimate the opportunity for geothermal heat and power generation. So the renewables become the #1 priority at the moment, and basically the geothermal is as a base load with 24/7 is the most valuable, I would say, versus the solar and wind. And yeah, this is the summary of that. Please, let's move to the next slide. Regarding the overcoming challenge of tariff policy and compensation with fossil fuels, for example, we are targeting. We are experiencing the tariff policy now is changing. Basically, we might look the comparison between electricity price on the European Union versus Ukraine and tariff policy for the household and the so-called commercial tariff, which at the moment is increasing. For the based on the latest news, the tariff for the household will be increased almost twice, within some exception of the minimum demand of 100 kilowatt per hour as a limit within the current price. And the green tariff for geothermal in Ukraine at the moment varies from 60 to 150 euro per megawatt, and also still active. So basically, regardless the military actions, the green tariff is supporting, and all the payments are managed at the moment, regardless some issues previously. So basically, we are aware that the so-called self-sufficiency of the power generation from the geothermal projects are still questionable, particularly based on the Ukrainian case, but within this supporting system and approach, as well as the tariff policy, the project potential are becoming more interesting and more valuable. Please move ahead with the next slide. So let's speak a little bit more about the integration in the EMTSO system. So basically, Ukraine received the emerging assistance now, and so our system connected to the whole European system, and this is not only the so-called risk source, or it's also the opportunity, because Ukraine provides lots of power generation perspective, which might be also exported eventually for the European market, and lots of interest now being paid for potentially assessed what kind of power generation might be done. So basically, the geothermal is among of them, and we experiencing the high level of interest in this regard. So the Ukrainian electricity market has become more attractive for foreign investors as a result. Let's move ahead with the next slide. So let's speak about the lack of investment and access for financial resources. I would start this discussion from the carbon taxes in Europe, and Ukraine is also the part of this commitment. So the state fund of decarbonization and energy efficiency transformation is already set it up, where the most source, the financial source, will come from this carbon tax. And then other programs are developed, like Recovery of Ukraine, Ukraine Invest, Build Ukraine. There are lots of other initiatives started growing, and the alternative mechanism in Ukraine for renewable energy market we started already within the guarantees of origin of green electricity, the so-called auctions, feed-in tariff, premium tariffs, mechanisms for self-production, net billing, so-called, and direct sale is already applicable. Next slide, please. So what is the opportunities for geothermal energy, for the geothermal energy stakeholders in Ukraine? We have to highlight there are several of them, depending on the source of energy, depending on the availability of the source. We might highlight that there are several of such stakeholders, like agricultural industry, the local communities, for the heating and cooling, the utility companies, the technological providers, the energy companies, The recreational business like bus centers, as already highlighted, other industries, all of them are the potential stakeholders for geothermal energy sources, and there are lots of benefits might be available within this geothermal energy project development, like economical, environmental, as well as social related. So basically, the scope of work of our organization is to become this chain or link between the stakeholders, both from the state and the commercial related organization, which is those are interested into the assessment of the geothermal prospectus in Ukraine. So let's move to the next slide, please. So speaking about the opportunities, I to highlight that there is a program for industrial parks developed in Ukraine. This is the very important item to highlight, especially once we speak about the energy generation, the power and the heating generation, how it might be linked together. So the program contains the list of already established industrial parks. So the national scope is to have about 100 industrial parks among Ukraine. There are also some eco-industrial parks program available for being able to apply the renewable sources. Among of those, geothermal might play a crucial role as well. So we are targeting also to assess to make some estimation on the western parts related to those parts, and the special taxes and the tariff policies will be supported from the state in order to support this initiative. So this is the I would say one of the #1 priority for investors to invest into such a project. Although within the estimation of the self-sufficiency and the energy security, applying the geothermal energy sources here. Please, next slide. As of the international collaboration and cooperation, we will have to highlight that the geothermal Ukraine now become the organization which cooperates among local as well as international key stakeholders and policymakers. So we are becoming the member of EJAC, the IGA. We have to collaborate with other organizations and companies. So the national, international, as well as the local one. So we are looking on the three way of collaboration, as I already highlighted, the science, the commercial business, as well as the governmental organizations. Next slide, please. So here is the link of the sources which I used for this presentation. And yeah, next slide. Thank you very much, and looking forward for your questions.
Thank you so much, Taras, for this comprehensive presentation on geothermal in Ukraine. I mean, there's definitely a lot of work behind it, and of course, we are been following the development in Ukraine quite a bit and seeing the devastation basically on the whole country, but of course also on the energy infrastructure. Of course, makes looking into the future very important, kind of to see where this goes, and to see geothermal as part of that, and this continued push for, let's say, a renewable energy future is quite admirable. So I want to congratulate you on that. Regarding geothermal, you mentioned, of course, the use of geothermal for power generation and heat generation. But in the context of, let's say, the opportunities and the broader opportunities, where do you see kind of heat in that context? Do you think heat might be, let's say, it's a lower hanging fruit than power generation?
Yes, indeed, you are right that majority of the resources, the estimated resources, are applicable for the heating perspective. Although the power generation perspective are also available, but the cost of power generation is still relatively higher than the other, let's say, solutions like solar and wind, for example. So we're expecting that within the new technology development and the solutions, this cost will be reduced, but still the heating potential is prevails. And taking into account that Ukraine is mostly the low enthalpy related, geothermally related country, that the heating and cooling is the number one perspective in terms of geothermal application.
I mean, in this context, of course, you need a market. So what's the situation on district heating in Ukraine? Would it is there a lot of district heating that geothermal could kind of tap into, or how? Or what's the situation there?
Yeah, actually, the district heating is available in Ukraine. Unfortunately, the situation with current status of district heating is much uh, not much good in terms of the quality of the system. So the quality of pipes are not much high. So mostly we were assessed several case study where the heating project might be applicable. But when we speak about the Transcarpathia region, so those region is not developed in terms of district heating, yeah. But instead, where the location with district heating are not much available from the geothermal perspective. So this is kind of the pros and cons. And so each case is unique. So if we speak about the Lviv region, so basically we have both the district heating system as well as the potentials for the geothermal application. So we are looking forward on that case as a pilot project. And within within the latest projects in Europe, where the several cases for the geothermal energy application for the heating purposes, like in France and Austrian, was already under development. I believe that the Ukrainian case might also take some chance to be assessed and furtherly develop as a commercial project.
And here come some concrete questions from people, and I guess it's also a little bit of kind of the work ahead if we were to research geothermal any further. And you mentioned a lot of partners earlier, and then there are a lot of countries kind of looking to support Ukraine in rebuilding following a time after this terrible war. But here, in the context of geothermal, kind of, do you see that there will be, let's say, a push for seismic studies, kind of, to explore some of the geothermal resources further? And are there actually some Ukrainian players for that, or where would you see that say international players or countries could support Ukraine in that?
Yeah, actually, I would have to highlight that we are aware that some Ukrainian companies started looking into geothermal, both operators and service companies. So there are some pilot study projects ongoing, and basically the seismic it's very much valuable study for kicking off the project for making some detailed assessment. So I would say that there are high potential for both local business as well as international energy companies to look in details about such a perspective and even invest in the seismic for geothermal assessment project. Yeah.
And do you
Basically,
see then? Yeah. And so
I
do you
would
see then? Yeah.
I would say that there are lots of so-called white spots available. So where the seismic might be done, particularly on the western part, because western part is not much covered by seismic yet. But once we speak about the eastern part, where the oil and gas fields are available and highly developed, so the current seismic might be used for assess the geothermal application potential as well.
And in the context here, I mean, here's also a question about research opportunities for geothermal exploration and extraction techniques in Ukraine. Is there anything going on at the university level or the research level in Ukraine?
Yeah, it is currently ongoing in terms of both the university level, about the company level. So there are even some, once we speak about the company level, there are some cases where the oil and gas company set it up as some separate so-called new energy department to make such an assessment for geothermal perspective. This project is only ongoing. And as of the university level, this so-called new trend of decarbonization is rising up. So the conventional oriented energy departments now are looking deeper into the geo-energy potential, like geothermal, CCUS potential, since this is a new trend, this is the new demand on the global scale, and let's say petroleum business now become thinking about investing into the geothermal as a next step of their project for diversification.
Okay. I mean, I guess there's a lot to do, I guess, in Ukraine to rebuild energy infrastructure, and of course, it provides an opportunity also to change and move towards renewable energy sources going forward. Um, you see the role of Geothermal Ukraine as a facilitator, I assume, for geothermal in the Ukraine. So how can people get in touch with you kind of to explore opportunities of cooperation in helping Ukraine build up, rebuild energy infrastructure, but of course here in this context, on pushing geothermal in the country? What's the best way to reach you and learn more about Ukraine following this webinar?
Yeah, actually, we are open for collaboration as a non-profit NGO. We already own our website with all our contacts, and we are very keen to cooperate within the experts, within the organization, like universities, institutions, governmental organizations, as well as the commercial companies who might use their own expertise and the resources for making the deeper estimation and furtherly the business cases for the further projects application.
Okay. And maybe as a last time, we're running out of time. What's the website of Geothermal Ukraine?
This is the same website, geothermalukraine.org. Yeah, please visit that. And also we are active on the social media like LinkedIn.
Excellent. All right. No, but I think with that, we would like to thank you very, very much for coming on today's webinar and to share kind of the work done so far in Ukraine and where geothermal could move. Taras, thank you so much. We wish you, of course, all the best and stay safe in this really terrible times for Ukraine. But hopefully, kind of, there is a future in geothermal and a better future for the country. Thank you so much, Taras.
Thank you very much for being able to present ourselves and our activity.
Thank you. Bye-bye.